The world's spinning off its axis, and the latest shockwave hits right at America's core. Columbia University, an Ivy League titan, is burning with revolt as of March 29, 2025. Picture this. Graduates, decked in caps and gowns, tearing their diplomas to shreds in a public fury. These aren't just scraps of paper. They're symbols of years of grind, six-figure price tags, and promises of a golden future. Why the meltdown? They're raging against their own school's deal with the Trump administration, a handshake that cost Columbia millions in federal cash. Trump's cracking down, demanding order after protests he claims failed Jewish students, while these grads scream betrayal. It's a clash of titans, elite education versus raw power. The air's thick with tension. Some call it a stand for justice, others a laughable tantrum from spoiled kids. Imagine shelling out $150 grand a year just to trash it all in front of cameras. Across the nation, folks aren't holding back. They're mocking these golden rebels, asking who's really hurt by this stunt. From factory floors in Ohio to suburban porches, the chatter's loud. Some cheer the chaos, others see a nation unraveling. This isn't a quiet campus spat. It's a firestorm questioning everything. The worth of degrees, the grip of elites, and the direction of America itself. Is this a bold strike against a broken system? Or a clown show proving the Ivy League's lost its edge? Let's dig into this mess and figure out what's really going down, because the stakes are sky high, and the fallout's just beginning. Hit subscribe and buckle up. You won't believe where this ride's headed. Get why Columbia's grads are torching their futures. We need to rewind the clock. The Ivy League, Harvard, Yale, Columbia, and their ilk started as colonial brain trusts in the 1700s, churning out clergy and gentlemen for a young America. By the 20th century, they'd morphed into powerhouses, gatekeepers of prestige where a diploma meant a ticket to the top. Columbia, nestled in New York, became a crown jewel. Its alumni include presidents, CEOs, and cultural icons. But that shine came with a catch: sky-high costs and a growing disconnect from the average Joe. Back in the 1960s, Columbia faced its first big reckoning. Students seized buildings in '68, protesting Vietnam and racial inequality, shaking the ivory tower. Fast forward to the 21st century, and the cracks widened. Tuition soared. By 2025, Columbia's sticker price hit $82,000 a year, not counting extras like room and board, pushing totals past $150 grand annually for some. Federal funding, once a lifeline, ballooned too. Elite schools like Columbia raked in hundreds of millions yearly, tied to research and student aid. Then came Trump's second term. In 2024, his administration slashed funds to universities deemed too lenient on campus unrest, especially after pro-Palestinian protests sparked anti-Semitism fears. Columbia lost over $200 million in grants, forcing concessions, mask bans, tighter security, protest crackdowns. The interim president, Katrina Armstrong, stepped down this month amid whispers she played both sides, sweet-talking the White House while soft-pedaling changes to faculty. Now, Claire Shipman's in the hot seat, navigating a campus split between fury and fallout. This isn't new. Education's been a battleground before, but today's stakes feel higher. The grads tearing diplomas aren't just mad. They're signaling a system they say sold out. Is this history repeating or a new chapter breaking wide open? Let's find out. What lit the fuse. Columbia's grads aren't just upset, they're livid. The spark, a deal with Trump's White House. After months of protests over the Israel-Hamas war, the administration pulled funding, claiming the university failed to shield Jewish students from harassment. Reports from last year noted smashed windows and masked agitators, leaving campus tense. Trump's fix? New rules, ban masks, higher security with arrest powers, suspend troublemakers. Columbia caved, desperate to claw back cash, and that's when the grads lost it. They say it's a betrayal of free speech, a sellout to a president they despise. This isn't safety, it's control, one protester shouted, tossing diploma scraps into the wind. Their beef isn't just with Trump. Columbia's leadership's in the crosshairs too. Armstrong's exit came after leaks of closed-door talks where she allegedly downplayed the shifts, leaving faculty blindsided. The new interim boss, Shipman, inherits a powder keg. But here's the rub. This isn't about policy alone. It's personal. These grads spent years and fortunes, some racking up $300 grand in loans for a degree they now call tainted. They're not wrong about the cost. Private uni tuition's up 40% since 2000, far outpacing inflation. Yet the protest got folks scratching heads. Why burn your own bridge? Is this a cry against a system gone rotten? Or a tantrum from kids who don't get the real world? The answer's murky, but the fire's real. Step outside the campus bubble, and the mood flips fast. America's not shedding tears. It's laughing, fuming, or both. Social media is ablaze with scorn. They paid a fortune to rip up trash. One worker quips from a Rust Belt diner. Good luck without that paper, snickers a single mom juggling two jobs. The vibe's clear. These grads are spoiled, entitled, tossing away what millions can't afford. And the numbers back it. Only 6% of Americans attend elite schools like Columbia, while 37% of adults have any degree at all, per recent census stats. The disconnect's glaring. A 150 grand education feels like a luxury when median household income hovers at $74,000. Public rage isn't just mockery, it's resentment. They'll still owe the loans. A trucker grumbles, nodding to the $1.7 trillion in student debt nationwide. Others cheer Trump's crackdown. Finally, someone's cleaning up the mess. But not everyone's laughing. Some see a deeper rot. Elites don't get it, a mechanic mutters. They're mad at rules the rest of us live by. Is this a clash of privilege versus grit? Or a sign the whole education game's rigged? The divide's growing, and it's loud. Now let's talk cash, because that's the elephant in the room. Columbia is not cheap. $82,000 a year for tuition alone, climbing to $150 grand with living costs. That's a cool $600,000 for a 4-year ride if you're footing the full bill. Most don't. Scholarships, loans, and grants cover chunks, but the average grad still walks away with 40 grand in debt, says recent studies. For Ivy Leaguers, it's often double. Why so steep? Prestige. These schools bank on their name. Columbia's endowment sits at $15 billion, yet still leans on federal bucks for research and aid. Trump's cuts hit hard. Over $200 million gone in a year, pushing the uni to bend. But here's the kicker. Grads say that prestige is a lie. It's a paper trophy, one tosses out, echoing a sentiment online that degrees don't guarantee jobs anymore. Analysts note 30% of bachelor's holders are underemployed. Think baristas with BAs. Meanwhile, trade schools churn out welders earning 60 grand straight out, no debt attached. So why pay the premium? The promise of power. Except now, these grads say it's worthless if it's tied to a system they hate. Is the Ivy League still king? Or a sinking ship charging top dollar? Zoom in, and the human side hits hard. Take Sarah, a 26-year-old Columbia alum. She spent 4 years studying sociology, racked up 120 grand in loans, and now works part-time in nonprofit. I tore it up because it's a sham, she says, voice shaking. They sold us out to Trump. Contrast that with Mike, a 40-year-old mechanic in Pittsburgh who never went to college. They're crying over paper while I'm fixing cars to eat. He scoffs, wiping grease off his hands. These aren't just stats. They're the heartbeat of this mess. Sarah's not alone. Over 60% of grads feel their degree didn't deliver, per recent surveys. Mike's not either. Trade jobs are up 15% since 2020 as folks ditch the college dream. The grads want change. The public wants them to grow up. Who's got the louder case? It's a tug of war tearing at America's soul. What do the big brains say? Education analysts are split. The Ivy League's losing its grip, one argues, pointing to declining trust. Only 36% of Americans now see higher ed as worth it, down from 50% a decade ago. Another counters, this is noise, degrees still open doors. Trump's team doubles down. We're saving campuses from chaos, a spokesperson claims, nodding to lower protest violence since the crackdown. But a sociologist warns, push too hard, and you'll lose talent. Think 1930s Germany, when scientists fled. History backs that over 2,000 intellectuals bolted Nazi rule, fueling America's rise. Today, some whisper top minds might ditch the U.S. if the squeeze tightens. Who's right? The optimists betting on prestige, or the doomsayers seeing a brain drain? The jury's out, but the stakes are climbing. Now here's the curveball that'll make your jaw drop. What if these diploma rippers aren't the fools everyone thinks, but the canaries in America's coal mine? Flip the script. Everyone's laughing, calling them entitled, dumb, tantrum throwers. But what if they're onto something bigger? Think about it. They're not just mad at Columbia. They're rejecting a system that's been king for a century. Education's been America's golden calf. Get a degree, win at life. But the cracks are showing. Costs are insane. Tuition's up 40% in 20 years, while wages stagnate. Jobs? Over a third of grads sling coffee or stock shelves. The promise is fraying, and these grads are screaming it loud. It's a scam, they say, and the numbers hum along. Student debt's at $1.7 trillion, with default spiking 10% since 2020. What if they're not wrong? What if tearing that paper is a wake-up call? Look deeper. Columbia's concessions to Trump aren't unique. Universities nationwide are bending, trading ideals for cash. Some see a power grab, others a purge of chaos. But here's the kicker. What if it backfires? Push these kids too far, and they don't just protest, they walk away. Imagine a generation ditching college entirely. Trade schools are already booming. Enrollment's up 20% in 5 years. Tech giants like Google now hire without degrees. What if the Ivy League's not the victim here, but the villain? charging a fortune for a ticket that's losing its punch. And Trump, hero to some, tyrant to others, might be speeding that crash. His crackdowns calm campuses, sure, violence is down, stats show, but at what cost? If talent flees, if grads say no more, America's brain trust could dry up. Picture it. Scientists, engineers, innovators packing bags, echoing the 1930s exodus. Is this rebellion a joke? Or the first domino in a collapse nobody saw coming? Chew on that, because it's not as crazy as it sounds. The dust's still settling, but one thing's clear. Columbia's diploma bonfire is more than a stunt. It's a flare lighting up America's fault lines. On one side, grads raging against a system they call broken, tossing away years and fortunes to make a point. On the other, a nation rolling its eyes, cheering Trump's iron fist, or both. The stats don't lie. Education's a $600 billion beast, but trust crumbling, with only a third of folks still buying the dream. Trump's team says they're saving order. The grads say they're fighting tyranny. Who's got it right? The twist says neither's the full story. This could be the start of something seismic. By 2030, if trends hold, half the workforce might skip college, per labor forecasts. Debt could hit $2 trillion, and elites like Columbia might fade as trade skills rise. A welder in Ohio laughs at the chaos. A grad in New York fumes at the sellout. Hope and rage are colliding, and the fallout's anyone's guess. Can Trump's rules rebuild trust? Or are these grads the spark that torches the old ways? Maybe it's both, a purge and a rebirth. The world's watching, and America's at a crossroads. What do you think? Heroic stand or epic flop? Is this the end of the Ivy League's reign, or a blip we'll forget? Drop your take in the comments, because this fight's not over, and your voice could shape what's next. Subscribe, hit the bell. This story's got legs, and we're not done digging.